Hello everyone! Welcome back to another episode of Entertainment with Buford and Francis. Today, cosplaying or mostly dressing similarly to Francis from the Fairly Odd Parents, I'll be telling the story called Pooh's Heffalump Movie. Enjoy the video. Winnie the Pooh and his friends hear a strange noise and find a set of large, perfectly circular footprints in the 100-acre wood, and, in Tigger's case, a major earthquake in the middle of the night, causing his family portrait to be severely damaged. They jump to the conclusion that the noise imprints from a heffalump, and Rabbit organizes an expedition to go try to catch it. A disappointed Roo is told to stay behind, as everyone believes the expedition is too dangerous for one as young as he is. Roo could not resist to find a heffalump himself, so he sets out. Pooh, Piglet, Rabbit, and Tigger were heading to Heffalump Hollow, and they discovered that it looked different as well. They crossed the fence into the hollow without hesitation, but end up breaking up and getting lost in the woods, leaving Eeyore to catch up with the giant bag of all their stuff. Roo was alone in the woods as well. The others got suspicious when his food got eaten. He finds a large, dark cottage adjacent to an abandoned water mill, and literally meets a heffalump named Lumpy. After being convinced that Lumpy was a heffalump, Roo attempts to capture Lumpy with his rope, but he is too strong for him. Lumpy thinks everything he does is a game. After an awkward ride, Roo discovers that Lumpy is as young as him, convinced that growing up takes a very long time. Suddenly, Lumpy hears his mother calling for him to come home. Roo decides to let Lumpy to come with him to meet all of his friends first. They head towards the 100-acre wood by bouncing, and Lumpy had a great idea for a song called The Name Game, which Roo doesn't understand. Despite Roo hanging around with the heffalump, Rabbit and Tigger plan an ambush to catch a heffalump, but they become the intended targets themselves when Pooh and Piglet accidentally snatch Rabbit and Tigger out of hiding. Meanwhile, Roo and Lumpy tried to get to the 100-acre wood, but Roo realizes that the heffalumps are scared of him and what is out there at his home. Roo promises Lumpy that there will be nothing to be afraid of. The only problem was Lumpy trying to get his big body through the fence, but he made it through with Roo's help. Pooh, Piglet, Tigger, and Rabbit still didn't catch a heffalump yet, but they did end up lacking courage after a heffalump calls out and failed. Roo and Lumpy go inside Pooh's house, and the latter gets hungry. He consumes a pot of Pooh's honey, but ends up destroying his house. Roo and Lumpy flee to Rabbit's house, but after a bite of watermelon, they wind up playing reckless around the crops, and end up in a terrible mess. Roo talks Lumpy into a fun time swimming in the water and cloud chasing. Roo and Lumpy soon become great friends after the former finds out that the heffalumps are not mean after all. Meanwhile, Pooh, Piglet, Rabbit, and Tigger flee out of Heffalump Hollow, and even though they made it home, they discover that Pooh's house and Rabbit's garden have been wrecked, making them fed up with all the trouble. As they take severe measures in their own ideas, they had set up a bunch of booby traps around their borders. Meanwhile, Roo and Lumpy were having fun until Lumpy's mother started calling him to come home again. They went back to Heffalump Hollow to search for his mother, but it proves difficult. Lumpy uses his trunk to call her, but it's still not loud enough. After a day of searching, Roo cheers up Lumpy with a song. Afterwards, Roo realizes that his mother, Kanga, will know what to do to help Lumpy get back to his mother. Unfortunately, Kanga went to look for Roo and ends running into the rest of the gang. Roo and Lumpy find Kanga, but things went wrong when Roo was found with Lumpy. Rabbit and Tigger think that Roo was in danger, and the chaos starts by them chasing Lumpy around the woods through the traps that were set up earlier, but they end up scaring Lumpy away and out of their borders. Roo ends up breaking his promise to Lumpy, hurting his feelings. He talks his sense into Lumpy and gets him out of the cave. Pooh, Piglet, Tigger, and Rabbit were still not convinced. Roo reveals that Lumpy is Roo's best friend, since Lumpy free once and for all, much to Rabbit's charging. Unfortunately, because of Pooh, Piglet, Tigger, and Rabbit, Roo gets into more danger alone, As Lumpy starts to fall off the ditch, Roo tries to grab him, but loses his grip and gets stuck into a pile of logs. Lumpy tries to call his mother to save Roo. He may still be young, but regardless, his big heart does not preclude him to save his friend. Lumpy finally lets out a huge call with his trunk, and his mother finally found him. With Mama Heffalump's help, Roo gets saved and finally becomes friends with the Heffalumps. Once Pooh understands about everything that has happened, he and everyone else both apologize to Lumpy and Roo for their prejudices. They allowed their fear to make enemies out of themselves, and forgive them all. With that, the Heffalumps become part of the family. Eeyore finally comes back to his friends. A few days later, the Heffalumps learn about the main boarders in the 100-Acre Wood, the existence of Christopher Robin.